Hey, what's going on, guys? This is DK. Back at you with another video here for an early look breakdown of the Week 7 NFL main slate on Draftkings. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, my name is DK. I make daily videos breaking down NBA, NFL, PGA, and esports, daily fantasy sports slates. Real quick, I do want to say thank you guys again for all support. Seriously, guys, it is greatly appreciated on the videos and the live streams as well as on Twitter. The easiest way to support me, all the content is free, is just leave a like button on the video, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you know when I upload videos, you know when I go live. Also, if you guys cannot watch the YouTube videos, I do upload on Apple Podcasts. The link is in the description below, which is the DK DFS show. But with that out of the way, let's jump into the video. So before we talk about players and the prices for Week 7, let's quickly look back at my lineup here from Week 6. So Week 6... I only played tournaments. It was just a week I didn't really feel amazing about in cash. I told you guys multiple times I felt there was a ton of different ways you can go. I felt like it was more of a week for I felt better with building a GPP lineup. So let's go over my GPP lineup. I missed this is in the $50. Just single entry I missed by 2 points. Missed by 1 point in the Millie Maker. So that was without Derrick Henry, who was like 30% owned. So I have no regrets. Let's go over my lineup. So I wanted to get off the chalky running backs in Madison and Mike Davis because I told you guys I thought there was a ton of different ways you can go, and I knew the ownership was going to be condensed on a couple of those guys. You know, Henry, I figured would get some ownership too. But yeah, I avoided the Madison chalk, and the way I got different or leveraged it was I just went Cousins, Thielen, stack. That was a little bit unfortunate that it was Justin Jefferson that went crazy instead of Thielen. I obviously felt a little bit safer with Thielen. It was Jefferson that went crazy. He had close to 200 yards and a touchdown. An insane game for him. And then I ran it back with Julio Jones. I really liked the price there in Julio. I knew people would be scared of the injury. He was only 11% owned, and he went for 36 fantasy points. So that little stack worked out. And it actually worked out really well because Atlanta got off to a huge lead early, and that's perfect for your quarterback because then he just has to air it out the rest of the game, and that's what happened, right? Minnesota was down big time at a half, and Kirk Cousins had to air it out. Most of it in garbage time, but I'll take it for fantasy, right? So that little stack worked pretty good. The running backs I used, I went a little bit contrarian. So James Robinson finished with 15 fantasy points. Montgomery had a touchdown call back. That would have, put me in the cash. He finished with 13, not bad. And then Myles Gaskin got a little bit unlucky. He was 9 yards short of the 100-yard bonus and no touchdown either, but he had a good game against the Jets. I liked his price there. So all three running backs were solid, not amazing. Again, not having Derrick Henry really hurt in GBPs when he was like 30% owned. Godwin got a bit unlucky there, just because that game did not go how anyone expected. A lot of people thought it was a shootout. I thought that was a good chance it would be. Tampa Bay just dominated, and they were off to a big lead in the entire game and then just ran the football the rest of the way. Also, it was a little bit unfortunate that the Fournette getting inactive after the 1 o'clock games, because I told you guys I really liked Ronald Jones. Fournette was out. Got the news too late, and I couldn't make the pivot to get Ronald Jones in there. So Ronald Jones played really well if you did play him. And then, yeah, I told you guys I was using Logan Thomas. Full disclosure, I told you guys that in the live stream. I was punting tight end. The other tight ends I mentioned, if you punted, it probably went really well, right? I talked about Trey Burton, talked about Irv Smith, and Logan Thomas. Those are the punt tight ends. All three were really solid. Then I used the Bengals defense. They were the cheapest. It was just so I could fit, more into my lineup. So that's the review. Again, a couple points away, 1 point away in the middle maker, a couple points in this $50 single entry from cashing, but that's what happens when a chalk running back goes for 40. Yeah, no regrets there. I feel like it was a pretty solid lineup. Hope you guys did well as well. And let's see if we can make some money here for Week 7. So let's talk about the Vegas numbers here for the games that we have out. We have Panthers Saints at the 51 over under. The Saints are currently 7.5 point favorites. Browns Bengals 51 over under. The Browns I should say are 3.5 point favorites. Lions-Falcons, 56 over-under. Falcons are 3-point favorites. Packers-Texans, another 56 over-under. Packers are 3.5-point favorites. Steelers and Titans, 52.5 over-under. Steelers are 2-point favorites. So we got a good amount of games that are projected to be pretty high scoring. We have Jags, Chargers, a 49.5 over-under. The Chargers are currently 8-point favorites. 49ers and Patriots, a 45.5 over-under. The Patriots are 2.5-point favorites. Bucks Raiders at 53.5 over under. Oh, that is Sunday night. So that is it for the main slate of the games that we have out right now. So as always, we'll start quarterback, and at the top there are a lot of good options. And I mean, even for cash games, I mean throughout the years of me playing NFL DFS, I've always spent down on quarterback in cash games, but I really think I've been changing it a lot this year. Most of the time, I have actually been spending up on quarterback, and they have right now a way higher ceiling than the cheaper quarterbacks, and a higher floor as well. So I'm looking to these top quarterbacks like Russell Wilson against Arizona. This is a game that's going to be super high scoring most likely. Neither defense is great. Seattle has. Russell Wilson himself has played amazing. He's a guy that can get it done on the ground. Sure, 8K feels like a lot, but I think you've got to have interest in him. Josh Allen at 7-7. The reason I'm not going to get to Josh Allen here is because I'm not confident the Jets can score. They got shut out last game, and if the Jets continue to play the way they have all season, then the Bills are just going to pound the ball in the second half, right? So there's going to be almost no reason to use Josh Allen. So for those reasons, I'm not going to get to Josh Allen this week. I just have no confidence the Jets can score. Mahomes at 7-4 against Denver. It's a pretty decent price for Mahomes. He's always in play for GPPs. Pair him with Hill or Kelsey. But am I going to go there in cash? I probably won't go to Mahomes in cash. But a guy like Kyler Murray. I mean, 7.1K. This just seems too cheap. And I mean, he's playing really well tonight against Dallas. I think he was close to 100 yards in the ground. It really raises his floor, and the Seattle defense has not been able to stop anyone so far. So I really like Kyler Murray. I've played him in 5 of the 6 slates so far. When Arizona's been on it, I played him in the 2-game slate tonight. I think I played him in 4 of the 5 main slates, and right now I'm leaning towards playing him again for this week. So Kyler, at the moment, is the guy that I'm looking to. Love his upside, love his floor. This game has all the potential for shootout, but there's other options here too, right? We have Aaron Rodgers. Don't be worried about the last game. Just throw the last game out. I'm not worried about it. This is the get-right spot here against Houston, who has not been able to stop anyone. Sure, 7K, we're not getting him an amazing discount. Rodgers is obviously a guy that's not going to run the ball, but I think he's definitely in play. The Rodgers, Devontae Adams stack in GPPs is always in play. So definitely a GPP playable. I like Watson too at 6.8. Mentioned he was my favorite spend-up quarterback last week. He went for 35 fantasy points. I guess the one downside with Watson is he's just not running the ball a ton this year, but he doesn't really have to because Houston's defense is terrible. So he's been having to play from behind basically every single game, which is great. You want that for your quarterback. You want your quarterback to fall behind early, your quarterback's team, so they have to air it out the rest of the game. And that's basically what's been happening here for Watson. So Green Bay's defense, we just saw Tampa Bay light it up. Not scared of them defensively. And I'm not confident at all in Houston defensively. So they're going to give up points, meaning Deshaun Watson's most likely going to have to air it out. So I do like Deshaun Watson a good amount here at 6.8. I think he's playable in both formats. Matt Ryan, this Detroit-Atlanta game, another game that has the makings for a shootout. Now, I can't pull the trigger on Matt Ryan in cash games, but I mentioned, the Matt Ryan, Julio, or Ridley stack it's always in play for GPs. Just like Rodgers, Devontae Adams, right? Just like, any of the really top quarterbacks with, any of the top receivers in the league. But this is a game that, again, Detroit has really, really struggled defensively. So I like Matt Ryan here, but only for GPPs. I wouldn't go there in cash. You can pair him with Ridley. You can pair him with Julio. Both have enormous upside. Even some cheaper targets like Gage and Hurst. So, always interested in Atlanta for GPPs, but not cash games for me. Big Ben at 6.6. Probably not for me. I just like the upside a little bit more and the quarterbacks above them. So, yeah, probably not going to get to Big Ben. Stafford, if you played him last week, you got a bit unlucky. Detroit got off to a huge lead and has kind of relied on the run game for most of that game. So, yeah, was Stafford a bad play last week? No. Again, I think you got a bit unlucky if you did go there. I'm perfectly fine going back to Stafford if you want to go that route. Again, Atlanta has really struggled defensively as well. So, Stafford is a guy that 6'5", it's like not an amazing price, but not a bad price either. Firmly in play there in the mid-range. Herbert at 6'4" against Jags. Jacksonville's another team that has been really bad defensively. So, yeah, a ton of these quarterbacks are really good spots, like the top quarterbacks. Keenan Allen looks like he's going to be back for this game. Keenan Allen's always a guy I like targeting because he's a target machine, really safe. The price is fair on him. So, if you want to go like Herbert, Keenan Allen stack, I have absolutely no issue with that. Herbert's been good. He has. And again, this Jacksonville Jaguars team has not been able to stop anyone. Now, Cam Newton and the Patriots, I can't do it. Against San Francisco, too, both these teams are run-first teams. They're kind of slow it down teams. If the Patriots are playing from ahead, they are going to work the ground game. Even the game against Denver, they were playing from behind. Only 25 pass attempts. So, what I'm going to get to Cam Newton is, in a game I feel like the Patriots are going to be playing from behind. Like that game against Seattle, right? Like that's when I want to target Cam Newton and this passing attack for the Patriots in these like slow games that are going to be ugly. I'm probably not going to do it. Tannehill at 6'2", he's been really, really good. The price is fair. Matchup's not amazing, but I think he's at least playable in GPPs. Drew Brees at 6'1", looks like Michael Thomas is finally going to be back here dealing with the injuries and the suspension. Brees looked good the last game. 33 or 47, 300 yards, 25 fantasy points. Again, he gets his number one target back here. The price is, seems a little bit cheap, and you can definitely pair him with Michael Thomas. So I think Drew Brees is a perfectly fine play as a cheaper option. Not going to get to Dalton. Probably not going to get to Minshew. Bridgewater 5'8", seems like an okay play if you want to, punt quarterback. I think he's been a little bit up and down, but 5.8K is a fair price in the game. The Panthers are probably playing from behind. Probably not Baker for me. I mean, Cleveland's a run-first team. Burrow, I could see getting to him. Cleveland has struggled to defend the pass. He's had over 20 fantasy points in 3 of the last 4 games, besides that one dud there against Baltimore. We're not overly worried about it. Again, Cleveland is not the best at defending the pass. 5.5 is fair. So if you're going to punt quarterback, Burrow's a guy you at least can consider. I'm not going to Jimmy G. I'm not going to go Kyle Allen or Locke. Anyone below that really is kind of out of play. I'm definitely not targeting whoever plays the Jets for quarterback. So, yeah, you can kind of tell, right? That kind of wraps up for quarterback. I just like a ton of the top guys. So that's probably where I'm going. And right now I'm leaning towards Kyler just because I play him almost every week. But I love the spot there from. But there's a ton of different ways, right? Russell Wilson on the opposite side for a little bit more. You have Rodgers and Watson in the same game. You have Matt Ryan and Stafford for a little bit cheaper in a game that's, there should be a ton of points scored. So that's kind of where I am leaning towards quarterback in spending up. Running back, let's talk about it. So McCaffrey, don't have confirmation yet if he's going to be out, but it's not looking like he's going to be available. So we'll see if he is obviously in play, if he's not going to be limited. But I assume he's going to be out for this one. Kamara's at 7'9". The floor is just so high at Kamara. It is. He's a wide receiver and a running back basically combined. 9, 14, 4, and 10 targets the last 4 games. This is a matchup that, Carolina has struggled to defend the rushing game. Carolina actually has been a little bit better in recent weeks defensively, but still, Kamara, the floor is so high. The one downside, I guess, is Michael Thomas is back, so maybe they don't lean on him as much, but super, super safe play if you can get to him. Kind of the same thing with Zeke. Sure, right? He fumbled the ball twice tonight. Not overly concerned. I still don't think Pollard is going to get a lot of work. Like Zeke should still be the workhorse. This is a game Dallas should be playing from ahead. Either way, though, if they do fall behind, Zeke's a great pass-catching back. I think he, like Kamara, seems like a really safe option if you can get to him. Derrick Henry at 7'5". Again, he went for 43 fantasy points. I'm probably not going to get to him, but he's a guy that the floor is somewhat low because no real involvement in the passing game. But he will have like one of those breakouts. Seems like 1 or 2 games a year where he just completely destroys the slate, like last week where he went for 43 fantasy points. Price didn't really move. Matchup's not great though, but still, if you think Tennessee is going to be playing from ahead, like in any game, then you're going to want to target Henry because he has upside to go for 30 plus carries. I think the ownership will be up. I think there's a lot of good running back plays, so I'm probably not going to get to Derrick Henry, but it's always a scary fade because he is just a true workhorse back. Aaron Jones at 7-2. It did not look great last week against Tampa Bay. 10 carries for 15 yards. Again, the downside with him is Jamal Williams on the team, right? They're still going to give Jamal Williams his carries. But this is a much better spot here against Houston. I think Jones is playable, but I think more suited for GPPs. Kareem Hunt at 6'8", didn't have the best game there against Pittsburgh, but they just got absolutely destroyed that game. This is a game that they're probably playing from ahead, and we know, right? Cleveland is a run-first team. Still no Nick Chubb, so I definitely think there's upside for Hunt to get 20-plus carries, and he's a good pass-catching back. I think he's a perfectly fine play at 6'8". I wish he was a little bit cheaper, but he's definitely in consideration in both formats here at that price. Connor, kind of the same thing. 6'7" is a fair price. He's been hovering in this mid-6 to low 7K range. Tennessee, not very good defensively. We know, Connor is the bell cow back here. He is, didn't get a whole lot of work. Obviously, only one catch, one target last week. But he's a good passing back. Pittsburgh will go to the back out of the backfield a decent amount. So Connor's a perfectly fine play in the mid range. Don't really have a strong take there. Mike Davis, if there's no McCaffrey, I like him a good amount here. Struggled a little bit against Chicago, but that was Chicago, right? Chicago is pretty solid defensively. This is a better spot here against New Orleans. His floor is pretty high. He did only have 2 catches on 3 targets. Again, not overly concerned about that because the previous 3 games, 9, 6, and 10 targets. They like going to him out of the backfield. The price went down on him a bit. I'm perfectly fine going back to Mike Davis here. I think he's one of the better plays there in the mid-range. We have no Mostert. We'll talk about a couple 49ers backs, but I'm still not super excited about that. Chris Carson at 6'4", I think looks like a pretty good play. He's not getting a ton of carries, but, with his carries going down, his receiving work's going up, right? He's getting a lot of targets. 6, 3, 3, 4, 7. Seattle has turned into a pass-first team instead of a run-first team. And like I said, this is a game that has all the makings for shootouts. So 6'4" feels a little bit too cheap for Chris Carson. I definitely have interest in him at that price. Mixon's a bit banged up. We'll see. If he's good to go, I think he makes for a good play. He's a safe player. He's getting a ton of targets. If he can't go, then we look to Gio. So obviously got to keep an eye on that. James Robinson at 6'2", I think just seems about right. Right, he's a guy that is getting work out of the passing game. He's getting a decent amount of work on the ground. Did struggle, which is a little bit surprising against a bad Detroit team, but I think he's a fine play there. Edwards-Helaire, we'll see. If Le'Veon is out once again, then I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire looks like a pretty good play here at this price. If Le'Veon plays, I'll probably pump the brakes. I don't know what the workload's going to be for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Let's see. Other options are, so McKinnon's at 5'8". I don't think I'm going to do it. New England is really good defensively. I think San Francisco will incorporate a couple other backs. I don't think he's going to be a true workhorse here with no Mostert, so I'm not overly excited about the 49ers backfield. The Buffalo backfield, I get it if you want to go Singletary, but Moss is now healthy too. He's fine in GPPs, but has not looked good the last couple of weeks. Melvin Gordon, we'll see. His status is currently up in the air at 5'5". Either way, though, this Denver offense has struggled. DeAndre Swift had a big week last week. I don't know if I can trust it yet, though. They still have Kerryon Johnson. They still have AP. So it is still kind of a three-headed monster, even though he did go for under 100 yards. I can't trust it in cash, obviously. David Johnson at 5'3". It's all about how you think this game plays out. If you think Houston gets off to an early lead, then I think David Johnson looks a little bit better. The downside is they have Duke Johnson. They'll utilize him a good amount, third down, pass down work. Philip Lindsay is okay if Melvin Gordon is out, but we're not getting him like a great discount like we were last week. The Josh Kelly, Justin Jackson situation, I prefer Justin Jackson. He seems to be the better pass-catching back. That they relied on him a bit more the last game. It's a good matchup here. 4-9. I think he's perfectly fine for GPPs. Don't want to go there in cash, though. Like Drake looked pretty good tonight. If you think the Cardinals are playing from ahead in this game, you can look to Drake. The downside is, again, no real involvement in the passing game. So that really wraps it up for running back. Let's talk about wide receiver. And oh boy, man. There are, like I said, all the top quarterbacks are in really good spots. Well, like all the top wide receivers are in really good spots. So this has all the makings for a really good GPP week. Hopkins against Seattle. Devontae against Houston. Michael Thomas against Carolina. Ridley against Detroit. Both Seattle receivers, Metcalf and Lockett against Arizona. We have, again, Julio and Ridley against Detroit. Fuller against Green Bay. Yeah, this is... You're going to have to make some tough decisions as a wide receiver, but the upside on those like top, 8 to 10 guys is absolutely enormous. So I don't have like a strong take, to be honest, on which of these guys I prefer, but the upside on all these guys is absolutely enormous on all these top receivers. So, yeah, I think you're going to want to mix. If you're making a lot of lineups, obviously mix and match. If you're a single entry guy like myself, you're going to have to make a tough call on this slate. But the upside on these receivers, the top guys, is through the roof. The Dallas receivers against Washington, it's probably not for me. Like I just like the upside more on all those guys I mentioned above. Talked about Fuller, like him a lot if you want to pair him with Watson. Kenny Galladay at 6-7 against Atlanta. Targets have been safe. Great matchup here. You can definitely pair him with Stafford. Talk about both Seattle receivers. I think I slightly prefer Lockett for the discount over Metcalf. Both are in play. You can definitely stack Seattle and Arizona. Tyreek Hill is just a GPP play for me just because the targets, right? 6'6", 6-3 targets. He just doesn't get targeted a ton. The price is coming down. So you can always go Hill and Mahomes in GPPs, but I just don't think I would do that in a cash game setting. Now, Keenan Allen, I like the price. If he's going to play, this is just too cheap against Jacksonville. That's the 2-catch, 2-target game. He got injured right away in the first quarter. That was in the first drive. 2 catches, 2 targets, a touchdown, and then he got injured. The previous 3 games, 10, 19, and 11 targets. Jacksonville defensively, again, has really struggled, so I like to price a good amount here on Keenan Allen. Now, again, is he a must-play? Absolutely not, because there's so many good wide receivers on the slate. All the top wide receivers, like I said, are in really, really good spots. A.J. Brown at 6'3". He's been really consistent. 8, 9, and 7 targets here. If you want to pair him with Tannehill, who's been playing well, I'm perfectly fine with that. I think it is more suited, though, for GPPs. The Cleveland wide receivers, they're just a run-first team. I'm just not overly excited about OBJ or Crowder here. Robbie Anderson, again, it's hard to argue what he's done. He's been super, super consistent. Same thing with Jameson Crowder in this Jets team. I mean, Crowder, it's crazy how consistent. 13, 10, 10, and 13 targets. 7, 7, 8, and 7 catches for this awful Jets team. So, yeah, Crowder is the only Jets guy I think I'll consider on the slate. Terry McLaurin, Dallas has really struggled defensively. Sure, right, Washington also not very good offensively, but McLaurin with bad quarterback play has been, pretty good. I think he's a perfectly fine GPP play. Now, Chase Claypool at 5-7. If Deontay Johnson's out, you can definitely look to him. I think the ownership will be up after, the last couple of games. I feel a little bit more comfortable with the receivers above them, but if you want to go back to the well there, I'm not, going to hate on that. As far as the mid-tier receivers, I'm not overly excited about it. So, again, for me, I'm looking, if I'm playing GPPs, I'm probably looking to spend up a wide receiver. This, mid-range is not amazing. I'm not going to get to Juju. Chark's fine. Boyd's okay here at 5-4. Higgins, both have been decent, but A.J. Green looks pretty good for his price. We'll talk about him in a bit. Cooks, has been really solid the last couple of weeks. John Brown's a donut tonight after being somewhat popular. That was a little bit tilting. Again, this mid-range is not amazing to me. The cheap wide receiver I want to mention here is A.J. Green. People asked me in the live stream who was my favorite play below 4K. I told you guys it was A.J. Green. It was a nice buy low opportunity. Well, 8 catches, 11 targets. You look like a different player there. Cleveland has struggled to defend wide receivers this year. The one word with AJ Green is injury history. Right? He is always injured. He's getting up there in age. If he can stay healthy though and play a full game, 4.3K is just too cheap. So are you willing to take the risk? I think he's gonna be pretty popular this week. Is he a must play? No. You can spend up a little bit more for Higgins and Boyd if you feel more comfortable with that. But I think it looks like a good play here. Green, just know the risk. Hardman played like he so tilting the Chiefs. He played like no snaps with no Sammy Watkins. He dropped like one ball and then they kind of just benched him. So can't go there. A buy low opportunity here. Marvin Jones Jr. 4.4K. 3 straight pretty bad weeks. I'm still not overly concerned about it. Right, the game script there against the Jags. So it was Detroit early lead. They didn't really have to pass the ball. He's still playing a majority of the game. And again, Atlanta has really struggled defensively. So I have interest in Marvin Jones as a buy low. I think this is a game he could definitely have a breakout game. Russell Gage at 4-4 is fine. Playing out of the slot. He'll play a good amount of the game. He's okay at that price. Cobb, revenge game spot. Obviously he's getting up there in age, but he's been somewhat safe. Him, Fitzgerald, kind of the same player. Right? They're getting up. They're old. They're playing out of the slot. They don't have amazing upside, but if you need someone super, super cheap, they're not the worst plays. Again, we have to keep an eye on Deontay Johnson's injuries status here. If he's in, I'm not going to get to Claypool at all. If he's out, you can at least consider Claypool. But again, the ownership, I think, will be up. MBS at 4-1 is an okay option here. The number 2 receiver here for Green Bay. Again, a great matchup here against Houston. So I think he's a pretty decent, cheap option at wide receiver. Again, the New England receivers with Harry and Bird, they will play a good amount of the game. It's just this game. San Francisco New England is a game I want very little exposure to. Should be kind of ugly, slow. Both teams like to run the ball. Probably not for me. Now, Demarcus Robinson, with Hardman struggling, it was Robinson that played a majority of the game there. He had 5 catches, 6 targets. So he's someone you could look to as a punt, a wide receiver if you need someone super, super cheap. I think that's about it. Again, maybe we could get some more value here opening up throughout the week, but as of right now, that kind of wraps it up for wide receiver. Let's finish it up with tight end. So, tight end Kittle against New England, always in play for GPPs. He's a target machine. 15, 8, 10 targets. We want to go Kittle and GPs perfectly fine. We're not overly excited about it. Kelsey at 6'3", again, that seems a little bit too cheap. He's so safe. So Kittle, Kelsey at the top. Can't go wrong if you want to go that way. Hockenson, it feels a little bit pricey, but matchup's good. Yeah, I think more suited for GPPs. Juju Smith, his status is up in the air. If he is out, we can look to Ferkser, who had a really nice game last week. Tanyan at 4.6. Again, I told you guys I was pumping the brakes, and we kind of saw a down game from him, only 3 catches and 4 targets. Price went down a bit. I still wish he was a little bit cheaper. Hunter Henry at 4.5. I kind of like Hunter Henry here. If you don't get to Keenan Allen, you can definitely look to Henry, who's been a really safe play here. He's getting a good amount of targets. Again, a good matchup. I think the price looks good. So Hunter Henry is definitely someone I'm considering. Other options, Fells had a good week, but I don't think I'm going to chase that. Logan Thomas, I told you guys I was punting with him. Did only have 4 targets, but 3 catches, touchdown. Again, Dallas has really struggled. I think he's in play if you want to punt tight end again. Drew Sample at 3.2 hasn't really done a ton with his workload of being a starting tight end. Below that, again, Ferkser, he's 3K. If Juju Smith's out, I think you can definitely look. Now, are you going to expect 8 catches, 9 targets for over 100 yards? No. But he would play a majority of the game if Juju Smith is out. And he's a good pass catching tight end, so he's someone you can definitely punt with if Juju Smith is out. I think that really wraps up, though, for tight end. And then defense, I'll talk about that more in my final look as well as in the live stream, guys, on Sunday morning. So I think that's going to do it for the video. If you have been enjoying the content so far, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button on the video, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you know when I upload videos, you know when I go live. I will be live streaming 1 hour before lock for Week 7 main slate on Sunday. So be sure to check out the live stream, guys. I go over everything. I kind of tell you guys where I'm going. I give you guys cash plays, GPP plays, and then answer any questions you guys have at the end. So thanks again, guys. Hope you guys have a good night, and I will see you all later.